Our next speakers are coming. There will be Carla Gaggini and Jade Amic. The speech will be in English too. So we will exit from the technical topic and we will be talking about inclusive communities. How do you maintain them? How do you create them? So the spirit of the community is what brings this kind of events live and online every year. So Carla Gaggini and Jade Amic, welcome on the stage. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Ciao a tutti. It's great to be here at KCD Italy with all of you today. As you might have guessed from the title of the talk, the plan for the next 30 minutes or so is to talk about inclusive communities, how to build them and how to maintain them. So let's have a look at the agenda. Of course, it's not as easy as it sounds, and that's why we've broken down the journey into 3 main steps: define, build, and maintain. And finally, we'll conclude with some key takeaways. Okay, then, let's start trying to answer some basic questions with the define section. Question number 1 is, what does it mean to be an inclusive community? There is a great quote from the inclusion strategies Verna Meyers that gets straight to the point. Diversity is being asked to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. So, in other words, it's a great party where people are not only aware of each other's differences, but they understand and welcome them. It's a party where everyone is also aware of their conscious or unconscious biases and endeavors to reduce them. It's a party where everyone feels safe to speak their mind and to be themselves. It is a party where everybody is respected, no matter their gender identity, their sexuality, disability, physical appearance, body size, race, religion or lack of religion, marital status, political views, and so on. Last but not least, it's a party that no matter what proficient dancer you are, you'll get your dance anyway, or someone will show you the ropes. Over to Jay for the second question.
Thank you, Carla. I'm definitely one of those people that needs to be shown the ropes when it comes to dancing. But the second question is, why does it matter? Brene Brown, a world-renowned researcher on vulnerability, courage, worthiness, and shame, asked people what they were trying to achieve in life. Many were yearning to be part of something, to experience real connection with others, but not at the cost of their authenticity, freedom, or power. Here today, we all have different lived experiences. While the tech community is one thing we have in common, there is another thing above all else, and that is that we are all human and have that same yearning for authentic connection and belonging, to feel we can bring ourselves and ideas to the table in a way that makes us not only feel welcome, but truly seen and valued. Carla and I are not in front of you today as experts or because we have everything figured out, but because we care, because we're trying, because we're learning, and we're unlearning as we go. To create a space of true belonging, a space where we don't need to change who we are, but can be who we are, requires working from the inside out. And we'll share a bit about what we have learned and hope to be able to help you build inclusive, diverse, open, and safe communities. We don't take everything seriously, but this topic is something we do take seriously, but the pictures will kind of show you a little bit more of our personality. So I'd like to introduce Carla. I'm pretty sure she needs no introduction because most of you already know her, but I'll introduce the Carla that I know. Whether it's on a Slack channel, in our teams, or on a stage, Carla makes a difference wherever she goes. Her years of experience in events have given her a front row seat into what it takes to curate, nurture, protect, and empower communities. As head of content, events, and community, she's my right hand, and sometimes she's my left hand too. She's someone that cares as deeply about people as she does about the communities they are part of, and I'm proud to be here with her.
Thank you, Jade. And this is Jade, our head of marketing and container solutions. And there's many things I can say about her. For example, that Jade is an excellent strategist. She's creative, determined, passionate, and ingenious. She's also generous, kind, patient, and understanding. The reason why we're giving this talk together, though, is because Jade truly cares about people. She cares about understanding them, about elevating them and becoming better together. She is committed to leaving the world a bit better than when we found it. And that's why she is a great human being above everything else. So over to you, Jade. Let's kick off this talk.
Thank you very much, Carla. So we're going to start with understanding how to build the foundation. So we asked ourselves the question, how do you create a sense of belonging? And the answer that we discovered is that you have to do it from the inside out. There are many aspects to creating a safe space for people to show up wholeheartedly. You need psychological safety, you need empathy, trust, support, the space to fail and learn, honesty, respect, acceptance, and so much more. But for the space to be truly, to be and feel truly inclusive, it needs to be representative. For it to be representative, everyone needs to be heard. And for everyone to be heard, everyone needs to feel safe to bring their voice to the table. One of the ways we gave everyone a voice at Container Solutions and the space to show up wholeheartedly was to create a shared value system that not only went from the inside out, from the individual to the team to the company, but we also did it starting from the bottom up rather than top down. We co-created our company values to serve as a guide for all of us that can be delivered on through our behavior. And this is behavior that we can hold ourselves and each other accountable to. So our shared value system is the foundation for how we exist internally and externally. It was key to define a set of values that was truly shared, created by, and representing all of us as an internal community. And I'm going to take you through how we did this, practically and in a way that hopefully you can use too. We started off by holding a set of workshops within the company and across all the teams: finance, engineering, marketing, project management, people team, innovation hub, and the executive team. Why did we do workshops? Why was that the format we chose? Workshops, when facilitated correctly, thanks to the support of our awesome design thinking team, can truly bring a diverse group of people together and bring insights that are human, honest, and inclusive. And this gives everyone a voice and results in a meaningful change. It's important to allow time for collaboration and discussion. So you don't want more than 8 people to be part of these sessions. So if needed, you're more than welcome to split the teams up into smaller ones. We split engineering up into 3 teams, and we split marketing up into 2 teams for this. So the purpose of these workshops is to get teams talking about what matters to them individually and as a team. The outcome was a shared understanding of their shared values that they built into their everyday work, that they live with, and that they use to create strategies and goals from. By the end of the sessions, they had a shared language and approach to work, along with a character to represent each team. If you're taking notes or plan to, or maybe you just have a really good memory, which is great, but now's the time to take notes because I'm going to share the format of these workshops with you. So the first step we did is we sorted through our values individually, and then we created our top 5. So we gave the people the opportunity to select or add any number of values that resonated with them, values that they felt connected to, 10, 20, 30, whatever it was that was important to you. Then we asked each person to select their top 5. By prioritizing the top 5, we were able to see what was the most important to each person. Step 2 was to share those top 5 values and look for commonalities. So this gave us the opportunity to see what similarities there were between the individuals, what appeared more than once, because some things were exactly the same amongst different people, but also what differences there might be, and gave us the opportunity to discuss those. Words like fun and humor, for example, were connected, not the same, but connected still. Then we bundled those into themes. So once we got all the individual values down, we looked at building out shared values. To do this, we pulled the top 5 values from everyone and looked for common themes. Themes not only in words, but in meaning. Discussion at this point is really, really important because words mean different things to different people. So the aim here is to create a shared understanding of the language used so that everyone is clear and everyone is aligned on what we mean when we say certain words. We took tons of notes in the background and listened very carefully here because we needed to hear what was being said and what was meant by every single word that people had. The fourth step was to look for representation of those themes. So we started to get a wider understanding of what these values look like personified. This helps us to connect values to behavior. So why is Princess Di part of compassion, or why is Yoda part of knowledge? And again, it gave us the platform to have those conversations. Step 5 is to create a character that presents all of these themes. So we created a mashup of what this creature could look like, with the limbs and parts representing values. A heart could mean courage, holding hands could mean collaboration. Outside of this being really fun and not attractive at all, it was really helpful in figuring out how to visualize our values. The last step was to discuss how this character would act in different situations. I mentioned earlier that it's about behavior, and the last steps within each team was to go through scenarios to understand how the characters would act if they needed to run into a burning fire or they needed to work in a team. So we basically painted out these scenarios for people to speak about what behavior they would come to the party with. The key here is that once a behavior has been defined, it is what holds us each to account. So eventually we had characters and we had key values for every team in our internal community. Next, we needed to bring it all together so that they could become our company's core value system. To do this, we looked for common themes in the same way we did in step 3 of the team workshops. Within these themes, we looked at the words people had used and the meanings people had given these words to ensure that there were nuances that were included at every step of the way, even in the broader themes. I'd like to share our 5 core values that we created together that guide how we work internally and externally and how we hold each other to account. So we have 5 core values: growth, trust, purpose, collaboration, and creativity. These are all words, but it was important for us to say what these words actually meant to us. And that's where we listened and we took all of our insights from listening and we applied them to the meaning of what these words actually mean. So to us, growth means if we don't know how to do something, we will learn. We learn from each other and from reflection, because when we know better, we do better. Trust, it means we create a psychologically safe space by allowing each of us to show up openly and authentically. We are honest, humble, and trust each other to do the right thing. We practice acceptance of and care for one another. Purpose, passion and resilience drives us to achieve purpose. We strive to do meaningful work that is of real value to others, whether it be internally within our team, whether it be externally, community, or customer. Collaboration, when we work together, we will win. Combining our diverse thinking and skills leads to the most innovative problem solving. Made possible through clear and frequent communication, willingness to have hard conversations, and transparency. Creativity is about experimenting, growing, taking risks, breaking rules, making mistakes, and having fun. We invite people to make mistakes because we invite people to learn from them. So that's our value system, which is great, right? But how do we take who we are as an internal community and impact the wider community? Once you have your internal value system, it becomes how you do things. It also determines what you choose to do when you look outwards. As an example of this, I would like to introduce you to our community-focused brand and publication. I hope I'm allowed to swear, but I'm going to go anyway. What the fuck is Cloud Native? I'll tell you how it started, and Carla can tell you how it's going. It's really, really important to define a purpose that is brought to life through your shared value system. In the beginning of 2020, we were a brand new marketing team with great ideas and ambitions. We were ready to curate our own special tech community around events, gatherings, and all sorts of connections. Then, as a result of the pandemic, we had to relook everything. And with this came the opportunity to re-strategize and focus on building a community with purpose. We started to draft a strategy from scratch. Using Simon Sinek's Golden Circle, we looked to answer the questions: why do we do what we do? How do we do it? And what is it that we actually do? Starting with why, we needed to understand, why do we exist? What is our purpose? Often this is the hardest answer. Most people know what they do, very few know why they do it. The answer to this is your North Star. It will guide everything you choose to do. So our purpose for WTF is Cloud Native is, through innovation, we will collectively build a better tomorrow. How do we intend to do this? By collaborating with the community, we increase the understanding of the cloud native world through content and ideas. What do we do to achieve this? This is where the fun truly began, because the what was and is still facilitating learning and conversations through accessible content, live, written, remote, in person, and so on, focusing on 5 main pillars we stand for: strategy, culture, technology, equal opportunity, and ecological impact. So ultimately, what the fuck is Cloud Native? Is by the community, with the community, and for the community. So that's what guides us. That's what keeps us in check, and that's how we started. I'll hand over to Carla to tell us what it looks like now.
Thanks, Jade. Yes, let's explore the current status of our WTF is Cloud Native. Since its launch in November 2020, we have gained over 4,000 subscribers to our monthly newsletter. We've run 12 bi-monthly collections with different themes and topics that we've discovered together with the community. We've published over 100 blogs. We've run over 30 what the fuckinars. We launched a WTF is Cloud Native conference in 2021. And also we run a WTF is SRE conference that is going to be at its 3rd edition next year in London, 4th and 5th of May, save the date. And lastly, we also had 8 podcast episodes so far. But back to the main point of this talk, and also to start getting a bit more specific. The question is, how are our internal values reflected in that WTF is Cloud Native identity and purpose? Let's start with growth. Growth, as Jade described, is based on this principle. When we know better, we can do better. And that's why we educate ourselves and we ask, that WTF questions. It's because we want to grow together as a community, as professionals, as individuals. It's the same principle as open source. Together, we learn more and we can go further. Next one is trust. Again, the principle here is that if you feel safe, you show up holistically as an individual and as a community member. And when you show up holistically, you not only bring more to others and their journey, but you also set the foundation for mutual trust and psychological safety. That's why we consistently drill on what some people define soft topics, such as burnout and psychological safety, which believe are not soft at all, they're actually quite crucial. Next in line is creativity. Again, we are all different. We all learn in different ways. We all express ourselves in different ways. The content can be written, can be live, like now, it can be recorded, it can be in an audio format or video format. Creativity allows you to transcend beyond words, become more accessible, but also it allows you to have fun. If you attended any of our conference, you know that we like to dress up, to have themes, but that's not just about that. It's about being together as a community and having fun together. And that's also because being creative, it allows you to have different fun together. Like, we can break the rules, we can make mistakes, we can learn from them, we can take risks, and again, be as accessible as we can be. The last point is that that being creative allows you to think outside the box. The pandemic was one heck of a curveball that literally nobody was expecting, but it was also an opportunity to reinvent ourselves and push some boundaries we thought we couldn't, or honestly, we didn't have to push. Next one is collaboration. Again, is another biggie. if we have all the answers, we won't be asking WTF is microservices, WTF is Istio, WTF is burnout. But who has all the answers anyway? That's why we keep engaging the community. That's why we have open call for papers to build our programs. And that's why we have external collaborators to our newsletters. We couldn't be more grateful to all the writers, speakers, community members, community leaders, everybody who have decided to join this adventure with us. They are in this with us and they embrace our values. I think some of them might be in the audience today. So if you are, massive thank you to you and whoever is listening. Okay, last value is purpose. Again, to quote what we just defined, we all want to do something meaningful. Small or big, doesn't matter. We want to leave a contribution to the cloud ecosystem. And that's why events like this, they are organized by volunteers and they are working late nights, they're working weekend, they are being patient for us, sending the slides very late yesterday night. But that's why we all kept going during the pandemic. And that's why we never stopped asking, WTF is cloud native with all of you. And we are certainly not the only ones who've achieved that. KCD Italy, kudos to everybody. And the whole DevOps Days, it's a global series of events that stayed true to their values, even though they are scattered all around the world. So this is all great and inspiring. I think that's beautiful. But here's an hard question for us. How do we hold ourselves accountable and make scaling possible in this environment? There have been times where people have refused to work with us because of our name, or simply they sent us feedback because they didn't really agree with our tone of voice. And that's when staying true to our purpose, that the golden circle that Jade presented, helps you in tricky situations. For us, of course, it's not about the swearing. It's about being human. It's like we've been saying all along this talk. It's about the values, the genuine approach, and being ourselves. And it's also why, going back to the core of the purpose, we decide to share content that is following the core values. That's why, for example, we ran a Twitter space a couple of months ago that was called How to Recruit and Onboard Neurodivergent People. And it was actually amazing how people decide to share their own experiences, sometimes quite hard ones, but it's about giving people the space, and it's about giving them a voice again and truly listening. Okay, we're getting to the core here. We are now discussing how to maintain, because we've built this amazing ecosystem, but how do we make sure that it stays this way? So yes, the slide here, it says it's more than a code of conduct, but you definitely need one. And this is arguably the very first step to nurturing a positive and safe environment, and also consider how you have to enforce the code of conduct. So code of conducts are always summarized with this sentence: let's all be kind to each other, which is a great summary, but we still need to ask ourselves the question, so what does it mean? What does kind mean? And actually, what do we do when someone is not kind to another attendee or to anybody in our community? So let's try to see how this journey works. So first of all, something to clarify is that nobody is above the code of conduct. Not even you, community leader, even if you wrote word by word the code of conduct. It applies to every single member of the community, every attendee, every team member, every volunteer, every speaker, and even the sponsors. Even if they paid a lot of money to be there, that doesn't make them doesn't allow them to breach the code of conduct. And of course, a lapse of judgment can happen to anybody, no matter the role they are covering or how much of an influencer they are in the community. But the code of conduct is not only a way to establish a safe environment, but also an opportunity to remind ourselves of our values and what we stand for, no matter our position. So beside offering solutions and encouraging inclusive behaviors, basically recreate that amazing party that we mentioned at the beginning, we need to be ready to also enforce our code of conduct. Despite all the precautions, sooner or later we will find ourselves in front of a case of misconduct. So, yes, it's also about enforcing it. I'll be honest. I've been managing events and communities for over 10 years now, and this part never gets easier. To make things more difficult, it's really rare to have a universal rule or that can offer like a blanket solution for every situation. Most of the time, it's about judging unique situations, thinking fast, and acting even faster. So basically, what I've learned is to listen carefully, observe, and be ready to take extreme actions, no matter how hard and uncomfortable they are at the moment. At the end of the day, we only need to ask ourselves one question, which is, what current and future actions can we take to reestablish the safety and trust that has been disrupted? So we have a little interlude now because I'd like to share a brief story with you. And it is this happened during a large event in London pre-pandemic. And as the main organizer, I was approached by an attendee who told me that they wanted to report a breach of the code of conduct. So one of the speakers had used language that the attendee deemed inappropriate and actually offensive. The attendee was very calm, and they were also actually willing to talk to the speaker themselves. So, of course, as an organizer, I had the contact details of the speaker. So what I did is facilitate a meeting between them on site at the conference right away. And the result was pretty amazing because the speaker issued a public apology to everybody at the conference. And he was very grateful, actually, to have had the opportunity to learn a lesson. On the other side, we had the attendee who was very grateful towards myself and the team, but also to the speaker, because they had the opportunity to make their point and to help rectify an offensive behavior. So that's where we community managers, but community members as well, we can make a difference. This is where we can steer conversations and facilitate improvement. This is also why it's so important to remind everybody about the code of conduct and provide them with the easiest way to access it and to report a breach of the code of conduct. And there are several measures that we can make to enforce it. It can be a permanent ban, it can be like a warning, it can be a conversation like the story that I just told. But it's also important to consider that we are all humans. We make mistakes, and how willing we are to rectify these mistakes, it makes a big difference. So it's important to be firm and ensure everybody's safety at all times, but it's as important to be understanding and empathetic towards each party. It is as important to hold yourself accountable and be aware of your shared values and responsibilities, and lead by example. Now, Jade, over to you to wrap up this talk.
Thank you, Carla. So we wanted to wrap it up very quickly with some key takeaways that hopefully you've been able to have from the talk. The first one is that the first thing to remember is it's easy to bond over negativity, over how hard it is to foster diversity and inclusivity, over how hard it is to keep your purpose strong and resilient, over how hard it is to keep up with a community that's changing every day and becoming bigger and bigger. What we hope we've showed you today, though, is that to the contrary, the strongest bonds are built over shared values, ideals, and over shared commitment and accountability. The second takeaway is that all of us are accountable for building and maintaining diverse, inclusive, and safe communities. No matter the role, whether we are the maintainers, leaders, members, or temporary visitors, we are all accountable for our behaviors and for learning from our mistakes. And lastly, give people the space to show up. Listen, start from the inside out. Belonging is something that connects all of us, so let's create that. To truly feel a sense of belonging, we need to know ourselves first. But to create a sense of belonging, we need to know each other. On that note, thank you very much for your time. Hope it was valuable. And thank you, Carla, for being here with me.
Thank you all. Grazie a tutti.
Grazie.
Thank you, grazie alle nostre fantastiche speaker. We have some questions, if I am correct. Okay. So the first question is, can you hear me, right?
Yes. You're a bit, you sound a bit far, Serena, but we can hear you.
Okay, I'm trying to close my microphone. So, how was your value system creation experience in your team? Carla wants to.
Yeah, Jade, you can take this one.
How was it? It was very interesting, especially in our team. It was, well, I think for each of the individual teams, it was really, really interesting because it gave opportunity. You think you know people because you work together every day, but in reality, when you're actually able to dive into what's important to each person, it gives you the opportunity to see how similar you are, but also where those differences lie, why they're there, what do they mean, and why they matter. And once you know that about each other, it gives you the opportunity to really understand each other and create and build that safe space for everyone to show up in a way that resonates and is true to them and feels like it's safe enough to do that. So it was incredible, actually, to do it internally. I think just to have the opportunity to really know and understand each other. And afterwards, I think it actually brought all of us closer together.
Okay, yeah, I think that a safe space is the key word for this. Okay, thank you. The second question is, do you have any examples on when you had to enforce your code of conduct? So any other example rather than the one that Carla already presented?
I actually, I do have another story, and it's probably the story that made me more aware, like it was a kind of a epiphany moment for me.
Okay.
Because again, it was another big conference, and there's a lot of chaos. But this person came to me again. I was the main organizer, and I could really see that they were shaking a little bit. They were like visibly nervous, but they told me, I really want to report a breach, but is it okay if I read from my phone because I'm too nervous? But I wrote down the story. And of course, I let them read, and it was so well put and articulated. And that the point here is not what the breach was, but I was just amazed by the courage of this person. That despite that their personal challenge,
Mhm.
they decided to find a solution. They wrote it down, and then they came to me and they said, this is the situation, let's do something about it. And then in that moment I was like, okay, I truly have a responsibility here, because in front of me there is someone that they just broke all the boundaries, like all the challenges, and they did that. So I need to do the same. That's what I have to do. So I mean, I have goosebumps still if I think about
Yeah.
it.
Me too.
Right? So that's a story that it really changed me.
Okay. Yeah. I think that we need really to be brave to report some situations, because sometimes we don't feel enough confident to do that. Even if we talk about creating a safe space to have an inclusive and very, let's say, different community, it's not every time easy to do that. So we have another question in the chat, since we have 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. What are your suggestions to practically reach out and engage more people belonging to the underrepresented groups in community events like KCD? So, what can we do better for the next year session? Maybe. Do you have any suggestion, any tip we would use for that?
I think, again, we talk a lot. Jade, feel free then to take the mic as well. But if your values are clear, and if it's evident what you believe in, and psychological safety and inclusivity is one of these values, it's gonna make your job much easier. And it's also trying to get to people. What we do, I just sometimes reach out to people and say, hey, there's a bit of noise. I hope people are not distracted. Anyway, it's about showing that what they're coming to is a safe environment for them. So it's about what they're gonna find rather than how to approach them. Because if you set the stage, then it's gonna be very easy for them to say yes.
Okay. Okay. What about Jay? Do you have any more tips?
No, I think it comes back to what we've spoken about in terms of belonging and creating that safe space. So it's not just about getting people to the event, but I think it's also about, once you've defined those values, it's making those clear so that people can they know what they're coming to and they feel safe from the get-go. And then again, it comes down to holding ourselves accountable to create that space. And again, it's also really, really just listening and truly knowing who the community is that you're wanting to engage with and wanting to bring into the space that you're creating.
Okay.
If I can answer, because I understand that sometimes it's very hard because it's not that practical. So I don't know if Annalisa is fully satisfied with these answers. We need to start somewhere, and sometimes the easier way is to go to some members of the communities that are already there and that are already known and ask for help. And that's the old principle to collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have more leverage, they're gonna put you in a position to be more visible. But after you get to that visibility, then you can also work more by yourself. But I think it's the whole purpose here is to be in this community together. It's not to blame each other because your lineup is not diverse enough or because you haven't invited enough underrepresented speakers.
Yeah.
The point is, okay, what can I do to help you? Let's not start with criticizing. Oh, look at that. It doesn't look good. Let's start, okay, what I can do to improve that. Let me talk to the person, because then we do something practical here. It's not about of course we all want the diverse lineup.
Yeah, it's not an external responsibility, it's your own responsibility to do something.
Exactly. Yeah. Together, it's not on one person or one organizer, it's literally together.
And I think, Carla, what you're saying there as well, it's the change, it's to start somewhere, and the change doesn't have to be big. It can start with the smallest act, the smallest intention, as long as yeah.
Okay, thank you. Very, very interesting and inspiring talk. So I really thank you for your presence today. So as a big applause, virtual, let's say, for Carla and Jade. And I hope to see you again as soon as possible for the KCD.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
You too. Bye.